Some people connect instantly, others fumble through small talk. The difference isn't charisma or confidence. It's much simpler than that. And once you know the secret, you'll see it everywhere. I spent the last 10 years teaching people communication skills, from VPs to engineers to entrepreneurs. And I've learned that there's one skill that they absolutely lack, which we learn in order to be able to connect. And that is the one skill that you absolutely hate, probably, which is vulnerability. Vulnerability is the hidden reason why people connect so easily. Vulnerability is admitting to yourself that you suck. Vulnerability is saying to the other person that you do not know the answer. That's terrifying, because in a culture like New York City, where I grew up, we had to constantly perform. And if you're somebody who is responsible for a lot of people, let's say a manager or VP at a company, to be vulnerable is absolutely something that is not part of your mindset or vocabulary. I've learned that you can do all the skill training that you want, you can perform all that you want under pressure specifically, but if you are not vulnerable, you hit a ceiling. What's gotten me far with connection is my skill. Yes, I have a personality. Yes, I was a journalist in the Middle East during the Arab Spring. I was able to connect with the ministers in Iraq. And I'm educated. Maybe it's my look, so it's easier to connect. I'm personable. But the one skill I had to learn, which was in midlife, was vulnerability, because that's absolutely not something that I'm comfortable with and I was comfortable with. And I found that the vulnerability element was what got me the furthest results sustainably. It got me better connections. It got me sustainable connections. It got me promoted. It got me the job that I never applied for in Miami, working for a billionaire, who taught me the most important skills in communication, which is active listening, repeating word for word what the person had said. And from that, I started a community on school teaching people the Alice method, A for active listening, because I found that with vulnerability and then learning how to communicate through the lens of vulnerability, I was able to drop my ego, get rid of it, and then start from scratch. So I was excavating that ego, and then I built that foundation of vulnerability, of not knowing, being the sponge, being a child, learning properly how to communicate, which isn't really about talking and being liked or showing interest. It starts with active listening. There's a lot that goes into connection. We all get it wrong. We really get it wrong, and it's not even something that's taught in business school. When I got my master's from Carnegie Mellon, and again, it's going back to performing. When you have that role in the company, the role at home, you are performing. What if you could strip all of that and start from vulnerability? Pretty scary, I'm not gonna lie. So let's really get into vulnerability, okay? Because this is something that is important during sales calls. It is important in your household and in the workforce. What comes to mind for most executives and for most people is that vulnerability is weakness, okay? And in a consumer society or a capitalist country like the United States, where I grew up, that is something that we don't want to do. Except Simon Sinek, he's a personal development leader and also an author. He exposes that vulnerability. He really talks about it. Taylor Swift, the singer, all her songs are vulnerable. A lot of my books address vulnerability, truth from my life, and I share that truth, and that is really stuff that I don't know what's going to happen. If people hear it may make them uncomfortable. It does. But vulnerability is stepping into that role of being truthful, no matter the consequence. No matter if you offend someone, no matter if you lose that relationship, no matter if you lose that job, and in fact, your life. When I was in Iraq, there was a situation where rape happened, and I avoided it because I got lucky. And I went to the Prime Minister and I basically threatened him, and I said, it is absolutely paramount that we protect the rights of women. If you're extending the airport and bringing in US dollar investment, We have to protect our women. Otherwise, the Americans won't feel safe coming in here. I threatened the government and I just said, if you don't do something to protect women, I'm going to report it to the New York Times. My friend who worked for the government heard about it and he said, do you know you could go to jail for that? And I said, no, I don't know, because it wasn't something I was thinking. I spoke my truth. I was vulnerable enough to say this is wrong and I'm not okay with this, because this is someone's life. You know, you have a mother, you have a daughter, you have a sister. So the vulnerability is truth. Nobody can fight with that. You can sleep at night. You may lose friends, you may lose that job, but you have peace. And you can't buy peace. That's really the hidden reason why some people connect so easily, because they stay in that vulnerability, they speak their truth despite consequence. And it works, not in the way that you think it's gonna work, because it's not something you control. The truth is from your heart, it's your spirit, it's your soul. So it's not here. You don't speak your truth from here, because this is like a lower vibration, this is a bigger vibration, and then there's the soul and spirit. It's beyond anything that you could experience. What are some exercises you can do to be in your vulnerability? Well, I like to write, so I like to write things down. There's like 5 things you could do every day. 1, you can ask yourself, what is my truth today? 2, what would happen if I didn't tell the truth? What's the cost of truth telling? What is the cost of vulnerability? What is the cost of not being vulnerable? What is the cost of not being truthful? So when you ask these questions, you realize you're a lot more afraid of the situation of being honest or wrong or truthful or vulnerable than probably the person next to you. A lot of it is like what we project, because I can guarantee you that if you stay vulnerable and truthful, the person's defenses go down. And most likely the ego too. Now, I can't guarantee it, but in my experience, vulnerability has saved my life. Truth-telling has aligned me with the right people, the right business opportunities. Vulnerability is the thing that saved my life. When I shed the masks and the ego and I just stayed in the light and the truth, it's that soft authority, and it moves the room. It shifts the conversation. So I invite you to practice vulnerability, and most importantly, to comment in the video, to share your experience with vulnerability. It's just so unnatural, and I can guarantee you that you will be able to sleep at night. So that's the most important thing, is if we have some sort of peace. In the next video, we're going to talk about how to get somebody to instantly like you. It's 5 minutes, that's all you need to do is watch the video, and then you will understand how to get someone to instantly connect with you and like you and remember you. We end each video with do the best that you can every day.